Latrobe University is an Australian public university whose flagship campus, the largest metropolitan campus in the country, is located in Melbourne, Victoria. The university was established in 1964 following the assent of the Trobe University Act by Victorian Parliament on December 9 of that year, becoming the third university in the state. While it does not share the architectural aesthetics of its sandstone peers, at its core Latrobe, as much as Monash, was among the last of the old universities in Australia. Of the many aspirations set upon Latrobe by its distinguished founders, one of its most prominent achievements, and a great source of university pride, has been its long-standing commitment to providing access to higher education to those traditionally excluded from the sector. In 2015 it was ranked in the top 100 universities under 50 in the Times Higher Education World University Rankings. Latrobe's flagship campus is located in the Melbourne suburb of Bundara with two other major campuses located in the regional Victorian city of Bendigo and in the twin border cities of Albury and Unga. The university has two smaller regional campuses in Mildura and Sheraton, and three minor CBD campuses, two in Melbourne on Franklin Street and Collins Street, and one on York Street in Sydney. Latrobe offers undergraduate and postgraduate courses across its two colleges of arts, social science and commerce and science, health and engineering. ASSC consists of the four schools of business, education, humanities and social sciences, and law, while she consists of the 9 schools of allied health, applied systems biology, cancer medicine, engineering and mathematical sciences, life sciences, molecular sciences, nursing and midwifery, psychology and public health and rural health. Latrobe is considered to be particularly strong in the area of arts and humanities. This was reflected in the 2014 QS World University Rankings where it was ranked in the top 200 international universities for arts and humanities. It was ranked 38th in the world in the fields of archaeology, ancient history and classics, while sociology, communication, media studies and linguistics all scored in the top 100. It was also ranked in the top 100 universities for arts and humanities in the 2014-15 Times Higher Education World University Rankings. Latrobe also features a strong Masters of Business Administration program which has been ranked in the top 200 business schools by QS Global Rankings since 2010. In 2014 the Latrobe MBA was ranked 14th in Asia, 4th in Australia and 2nd in Victoria by QS Global Rankings. In terms of research quality, the university exhibits strength in the areas of arts and humanities, and biological and biotechnical sciences. In 2012 Latrobe was ranked 3rd in Victoria in the Australian Research Council's Excellence in Research for Australia report. For most of its history Latrobe has been regarded as a bastion of radical and progressive thought within Australia, largely emanating from strong student activism at the university during the 1960s and 1970s. While not as prevalent as it was in the 20th century, it is a reputation that is still held. History: the passing of the Act of Victorian Parliament to establish Latrobe University followed earlier University Acts to establish the University of Melbourne and Monash University. The Minister of Education at the time and the appointed Planning Council were unanimous in their enthusiasm that the new institution should be innovative in its approach, and the university adopted an academic structure based on schools of studies in a collegiate format, where a large number of students lived on campus. At this time, Flinders University and Macquarie University were also establishing a schools-based system. Many prominent Victorians were involved in Latrobe's establishment process, and there was a strong belief that it was important to increase research and learning in Victoria. One of the major individuals involved was Davis McAuliffe, who later became Governor of Victoria. The university was named after Charles Joseph Latrobe, the first Governor of Victoria, and the university motto, "Whoever seeks shall find," is adapted from Charles Latrobe's family motto. The Latrobe University coat of arms incorporates the scallop shells from the Latrobe family bearings, the Australian wedge-tailed eagle to represent Australia, and sprigs of heath to represent Victoria. Background: The origins of Latrobe can be traced back to the post-World War II era, where there emerged a global recognition of the need to increase facilities for higher education. In 1957, Prime Minister Sir Robert Menzies established a special committee to report on the future of Australian universities, inviting Sir Keith Murray, chairman of the University Grants Committee of Great Britain, to chair it. The Murray Committee, in a far-reaching report submitted in September 1957, recommend a major expansion of university facilities in Australia, and changes in administration and financing. As a direct consequence of the key recommendations of the Murray Report, the federal government established the Australian Universities Commission in 1959, appointing Sir Leslie Martin as its chair. Menzies appointed Martin to chair a special committee in 1961 to report to the AUC on the rapidly increasing demands for higher education in Australia. In August 1963 it released its second report, which recognised the urgency of Victoria's situation. The resources of Melbourne and Monash universities are not likely to meet the long-term demands for university education beyond 1966. The Commission therefore is willing to support in the 1964–1966 triennium the extension of university facilities in the Melbourne metropolitan area. Following the recommendations, the federal government passed the Universities Assistance Bill in October 1963, providing a grant for a third university for recurrent expenditure in 1965 of $106,000 and $210,000 in 1966. The first capital grant was for 1966 and amounted to $1 million. These grants were to be matched by equivalent state grants. Establishment equals. The Third University Committee. In April 1964, Sir Archibald Glenn was invited by the Victorian Premier Sir Henry Boult to chair a third university committee. In addition to Sir Archibald, 13 other members were announced on May 21, 1964. The committee, therefore, consisted of Sir Archibald Glenn, OBE, BCE, AMIE Ost. MIChem AMP, Chairman and Managing Director, ICI Australia Limited, Chairman, F.H. Brooks, MSc, DIPT, Assistant Director of Education, Victoria, Sir John Buchan, CMG, Architect and Chairman, Buchan, Led and Buchan, Sir Michael Chamberlain, OBE, Deputy Chancellor, Monash University, Sir Thomas Cherry, SCD, FAA, FRS, President, Australian Academy of Science 1961–65, Mrs. Kathleen Fitzpatrick, M.A., formerly Associate Professor of History, University of Melbourne, J. A. Hepburn, Chief Planner, Melbourne and Metropolitan Board of Works Mrs. Whitney King, CBE, B.A., LLB, President of the Free Kindergarten Union and former President of the National Council of Women Dr. P.G. Law, CBW, MSc, DAPPSC, Director of the Antarctic Division, Department of External Affairs, C. E. Newman, MC, LLB, Solicitor, Newmark R, Victoria, J. D. Norgard, B.E., General Manager, BHP Company Ltd. Dr. W. C. Radford, MBE, MA, Med, PhD, Director, Australian Council for Educational Research, Professor O. Selby Smith, MA, AM, Professor of Education, Monash University, and Principal of Scotch College, Melbourne, 1953–64, Mr. Russell G. French, Secretary of the Committee. The terms of reference of the committee were to advise the government on all matters concerning the establishment of a third Victorian university. This consisted of the selection of the site, the preparation of a detailed development programme, planning and calling tenders for buildings, the formulating of an administrative structure, the appointment of an academic planning board and the recruitment of key staff. It was planned that Latrobe would enrol students, if possible, in March 1967. Selecting the site, the first meeting of the committee occurred on June 2, 1964 in the rooms of the Historical Society of Victoria on Victoria Street. From there, they acted promptly in seeking out a suitable metropolitan location, inspecting 27 sites from a list of 57 possibilities. The main constraints facing all options were area adequate for a full and balanced university. Cost, preferably Crown-owned land, as private land would require large compensation payments. And locality, somewhere reasonably close to the demographic centre of Melbourne and to public transport. A subcommittee, headed by Dr. Philip Law, quickly recognised that somewhere on the eastern side of Melbourne stands out as the right location. However, Monash was already growing in the southeastern suburbs, and so an alternative area was sought. An early list of possibilities read: Outer Bundoora, Leeladale, Channel O, Inner Burnie Horticultural College, Wattle Park, Caulfield Racecourse, Kew Mental Asylum. Selection of an inner site was unlikely, as they were mostly either inadequate or unattainable, especially the racecourse. However, the Kew site was a real possibility. The ultimate choice was unanimously agreed upon by the end of July, resulting in the farm attached to the Mont Park Asylum. Dr. Cunningham Dax, head of the Mental Health Authority, was most cooperative, although he raised concerns that the loss of the farm would be serious for the hospital. An alternative site for the farm was procured a little further out on Plenty Road, resolving the issue. Naming the university, while it was an interesting interpretation of a local name, Latrobe, proposed by Fitzpatrick, was agreed unanimously upon by the planning committee after some alternatives, such as Deakin, were thoughtfully put aside. Victorian state parliamentarians, however, were far from unanimous when they came to debate the Latrobe University Bill. Sir Archibald Glenn, chairman of the committee, provided a concise summary for why Latrobe was chosen. Lieutenant Governor Charles Joseph Latrobe has great historic significance for Victoria and his name is recognised internationally. Latrobe was not a university man, but he appears to have had almost every quality one would desire in one. He had a lively interest in every aspect of life of the community, the will to work for the good of other men, and a sense of responsibility towards prosperity. The Victorian Minister for Education, Sir John Bloomfield, upon presenting the enabling bill to Victorian Parliament, reflected on the influence of Charles Latrobe in the foundation of the University of Melbourne over 100 years before, concluding, "My most satisfying reflection at this moment is that my father's father sought for gold in our hills, and he knew this city in the days of the man whom, at the behest of others, I am now trying to acknowledge. If Providence and this Parliament will it, my son's son may be taught in his aura and tradition." Although Latrobe, like his father, used Latrobe and Latrobe interchangeably, the committee selected the spelling that was predominantly used by his side of the family. Early years equals. Latrobe University was officially opened by Victorian Premier Sir Henry Boult on March 8, 1967 in a ceremony that was attended by a number of dignitaries including the Prime Minister of Australia Robert Menzies. Teaching commenced at the Bundoora campus in the first semester of that year, with some 500 students. Latrobe was seen to be unique amongst Australian universities due to its schools-based, collegiate structure. At the time, this novel approach became commonly known in the university as the Latrobe concept. Within 4 years, however, this format had all but broken down, with the collegiate ideal reduced to halls of residence and the schools becoming departmentalised. Up until the late 1980s, Latrobe focused almost exclusively on the liberal arts and science. This was complemented with a strong professional school when it merged with the Lincoln Institute of Health Sciences in 1988, which is now the university's Faculty of Health Sciences, offering several professional health science programs including physiotherapy, podiatry and occupational therapy. Since then, the university has established other professional schools, including its law school in 1992, which was previously a legal studies department that was established in 1972. In 2008, Victoria's second dentistry school was established at Latrobe. However, despite being a leading Australian university in professional health and biomedical sciences, Latrobe does not have a medical school. When planned and developed in the 1960s, there was strong expectation that Latrobe would eventually establish a medical school and a teaching hospital. The Bendigo campus of Latrobe dates back to 1873. The Bendigo College of Advanced Education amalgamated with Latrobe University in 1991, completing a process that began in the late 1980s as part of the Dawkins reforms to higher education. During the merger process, A controversial issue erupted when the university's head office in Bundoora raised concerns about the academic standards at Bendigo CAE. This led to a public outcry in which Bendigo CAE students threatened the Bendigo Advertiser over publishing the matter in its newspapers. Several newspapers were burned in the protest. The inclusion of the Wodonga Institute of Tertiary Education took place in the same year. The university has continued to expand, with the opening of the Research and Development Park at Bundoora, and the upcoming opening of the second Melbourne CBD site. Funding and cutbacks. Higher education reforms by the Howard government allowed Australian universities to increase fees and take in a greater number of full-fee paying students. Despite a large student backlash, Latrobe took advantage of the reforms, increasing fees by 25% in 2005. Around the same time, the university suffered cutbacks in government funding, a problem experienced across most of the Australian higher education sector. Latrobe has lost funding disproportionately across its departments. For instance, the history department at the university was once by far the largest of any institution in Australia. However, funding restrictions have led to a significant reduction in its size. Similarly, in 1999, the music department was closed due to funding cuts. The university's African Research Institute, the only major African studies centre in Australasia, was closed at the end of 2006. In 2008, the university cut the Philosophy and Religious Studies program at the Bendigo campus. The change resulted in the stream only being taught as a minor. In 2008, Latrobe was operating with a $1.46 million surplus but has highlighted that by 2010 it will review, and where appropriate, restructure all academic, administrative and committee structures to deal with diminished student intakes, falling entrance marks, below par scores on student satisfaction surveys and a decreasing proportion of national research funding. In an attempt to address these issues, the university is making cutbacks and restructuring several courses under the direction of the Vice-Chancellor, John Dewar. As of 2013, the university is operating on a $28 million surplus. Heraldry and brandmark. Coat of arms. The key to understanding the heart of the university's philosophy is through its armorial bearings, for it provides many clues into what Latrobe is, and what it aspires to be. Crest. On the crest sits an Australian wedge-tailed eagle, perched on a parchment scroll and clasping an escallop shell. The wedge-tailed eagle, being such a well-known Australian bird that is found across the continent, was selected to symbolise Latrobe as an Australian university. One might also note that the wedge-tail is the largest Australian bird of prey, which may reflect the founder's early aspirations of Latrobe being a large and prominent university within Australia. Motto. The motto Qui cherche trouve is taken from the armorial bearings or the Latrobe family, Qui la car ca la tra squared bar. In Occitan, la tra squared bar means he finds it, and in regards to the Latrobe family there is debate over what was the object of the search. Such uncertainty is also appropriate in the university's adaptation, as John S. Gregory, an emeritus professor of Latrobe, aptly phrased it: what one actually finds is rarely exactly what one seeks or hopes for. Escutcheon. Upon the escutcheon, there are three main features: the heath, the escallop shells and the book. The heath refers to the common heath, which is the floral emblem of the state of Victoria, a highly relevant symbol being Victoria's third university. In a sense, it also reflects the university's attempts to cater to all Victorians, particularly regional Victorians, which at the time had felt excluded by the establishment of metropolitan-centred universities. The blue ribbon serves a decorative purpose in tying both sprigs of heath together to form a chaplet. The chaplet itself is a seemingly unintended reference to the state, as it traditionally represented victory. The three escallop shells upon a fess were taken from the armorial bearings of the Latrobe family and signify the Latrobe name. What is also important about the escollops is that they are a sign of a pilgrim and the journey that an individual must undertake to achieve spiritual, or in the case of the university, intellectual enlightenment. It is the idea of the journey that is particularly significant within the university's arms, as evidenced by the escallop shell clasped by the eagle in the crest. The book refers to the Book of Learning, however, for a university that sought to implement the Oxbridge traditions of teaching excellence, it is important to note that the Latrobe book, unlike Oxford, Cambridge, Sydney or Monash, does not contain clasps, which signifies that the book cannot be opened with ease. Its absence does not suggest that the Latrobian approach to learning is any less rigorous, rather, it represents a different approach towards knowledge that can only be seen in conjunction with the other heraldic symbols. That is, that learning in the pursuit of enlightenment is attained through the journey that one undertakes to achieve their desired outcome. Even then, the outcome at which one has reached, may not have been the outcome initially sought. Thus, it is the importance placed on the journey of learning, and what one derives from it, that forms the heart of the university philosophy. Brandmark initial brandmark. The university has traditionally incorporated parts of its coat of arms into its brandmark. The first brandmark was heavily based on its armorial bearings, following the common university practice of using only the escutcheon and the motto. Rarely is a university's full coat of arms used in such a context. Governance. The principal governing body of the university is the Council. The Council is composed of the Chancellor, the Vice-Chancellor, the Chair of the Academic Board, 3 persons elected by and from the staff of the university, 2 persons elected by and from the enrolled students of the university, 6 persons appointed by the Governor-in-Council, 1 person appointed by the Minister administering the Act and 6 other persons appointed by the Council. Under Section 8 of the Act that established the university, the Council has the entire direction and superintendence of the university. Some of the Council's more important responsibilities and functions under the Act include, making statutes and regulations for or with respect to all matters concerning the university. Appointing and monitoring the performance of the Vice-Chancellor. Approving the mission and strategic direction of the university. Approving the annual budget and business plan of the university. Overseeing and reviewing the management of the university and its performance. Establishing the policy and procedural principles for the operation of the university. Overseeing and monitoring the assessment and management risk across the university. Overseeing and monitoring the academic activities of the university. Approving and monitoring systems of control and accountability of the university, including those required to maintain a general overview of any entity over which the university has control within the meaning of Section 3 of the Audit Act 1994. Approving any significant university commercial activities. Conferring and granting degrees, diplomas and other academic awards to students. The Council is also empowered under Section 18 of the Act to delegate powers, authority, duties and functions to any member of the Council, or to any officer or committee of the university. Vice-Chancellor. The Vice-Chancellor is the Chief Executive Officer of the university and is responsible to the Council for the discharge of his or her powers, functions and duties. John Dewar, former Provost of the University of Melbourne, assumed the role Vice-Chancellor of Latrobe University in January 2012. Dewar is an internationally known family law specialist and researcher. He is a graduate of the University of Oxford, where he was also a Fellow of Hertford College. Dewar was preceded by economic historian Paul Johnson, formerly a Deputy Director of the London School of Economics. Before Johnson, Roger Parish served as interim Vice-Chancellor for a few months, and Brian Stoddart, who took up the position in December 2005 after previous incumbent, Michael Osborne, resigned following allegations about extensive overseas travel. Osborne had been in the position since 1990 and in one of the most controversial events in the university's administrative history, his tenure was extended for 7 years in 1994 by the then-Chancellor, Nancy Millis, without consultation of the board. The current Chancellor is Adrienne Clark AC, appointed by the University Council on February 26, 2011. A former Governor of Victoria, Richard McGarvey, was Chancellor from 1981 to 1992. Finances. As of 2010, Latrobe was running a budget surplus of $28.5 million. In this year the university took in $618.1 million in income, which came from a variety of sources, broken down by order of size. The university's income came from the following: 40% from the Australian government, 22% from fees and charges, 17% from HECS, 11% from other revenue, 7% from consultancy and contract research. The university had expenditures of $516.9 million, which can be broken down to the following: 66% to employee benefits, 10% to other, 8% to professional fees, 6% to repairs, refurbishment and maintenance, 5% to depreciation, 2% to publications, 2% to travel. As of 2010, the university had assets worth $1.22 billion and an endowment of $267 million. Academia: the university has 2 colleges, made up of several schools, offering courses at all levels: College of Arts, Social Sciences and Commerce, School of Business, School of Education, School of Humanities and Social Sciences, School of Law. College of Science, Health and Engineering, School of Allied Health, School of Applied Systems Biology, School of Cancer Medicine, School of Engineering and Mathematical Sciences, School of Life Sciences, School of Molecular Sciences, School of Nursing and Midwifery, School of Psychology and Public Health, School of Rural Health. Admissions and retention equals. The university received 12% of VTAC first preferences in 2010 and had a retention rate of 82%. 81.4% of Latrobe graduates find employment, the national average being 79.2%. The university, as of 2013, has an EFTSL of 35,073, consisting of an international student population of 7,737. Research: Latrobe University is a member of the Innovative Research Network of Universities in Australia, a group that collectively receives over $340 million in research grants. Latrobe University has been confirmed as one of Australia's leading research universities, climbing to 3rd in Victoria, based on the Excellence in Research Australia 2012 report. Latrobe is the top-ranked institution in the nation for research in microbiology and equal top with just one other university in biochemistry and cell biology, and in veterinary sciences. Historical studies and archaeology were also both assessed at the top ranking. The ERA 2012 report shows Latrobe University has made very significant improvements over the past 2 years, with the number of fields of research in specific disciplines rated at world standard or above rising by 31%, from 29 to 38 in 2012. The increase in the publications rated at well above world standard has increased from about 400 to about 1,800, which is more than 300%. The results are in line with the research investment strategy in research physical infrastructure such as the LIMS and Agri-Bio projects, and will inform further development of research concentration. This will be important to ensure further improvement in research quality and outputs in the university in line with the strategic plan. Visualization Laboratory the E-Research Office, in conjunction with Associate Professor Paul Pegram, Head of Physics, and VERSI announced the completion of a project to establish a dedicated home for the virtual beamline to the synchrotron and Latrobe's first visualization laboratory. This new space allows for the remote use of scientific instruments and imaging of scientific data. Latrobe now has the capability for interactive and immersive research collaboration, visualization of simulations and deep imaging. The Visualization Lab will also act as a remote training laboratory and classroom for teaching instrument-centric science and exposing students to the laboratory experience. The combination of developing a visualization lab which can also handle the remote VBL facility is perfect for integration of various visualization capabilities in the physics arena. Latrobe Institute for Molecular Science The Latrobe Institute for Molecular Science is an interdisciplinary research institute based at the university. It contains research groups in life sciences, physical sciences, and applied sciences and teaches undergraduate and graduate courses in these areas through the School of Molecular Sciences. It also contains 2 biotech companies, Hexima and Adalta. The institute is housed in 3 buildings, LIMS1 and LIMS2 in the centre of the University Euro-1 registered trademark S main campus in Bundara, and the Applied Science building in the Bendigo campus. Agrobiosciences The Latrobe Agri-Bio building, on the southeastern side of the university, has grown into a structure over 4 levels with a number of external buildings under construction such as a large glasshouse and polyhouse complex. Whilst the internal fit-out continues across all quadrants, it is clear that the majority of the structural work is now complete. The finished product will be a world-class research environment including highly functional and flexible spaces, collaborative breakout areas, open-plan office space with abundant natural light, and a huge open foyer featuring large glass atrium and CAFR copyright. The centre will open its doors to researchers by the end of 2011, creating a cutting-edge hub for attracting the world's leading scientists and collaborators. The first inhabitants will include 100 researchers and students from Latrobe's Agriculture and Botany departments and another 300 from the Department of Primary Industries. A key objective of Agri-Bio is to facilitate science collaboration between Latrobe and DPI, leading to better science outcomes for the benefit of Victoria and Australia. Archaeology and the Australian Archaeomagnetism Laboratory Archaeology at Latrobe University is taught within the Department of Archaeology, Environment and Community Planning and was graded at the highest level possible for research in the 2012 Excellence for Research in Australia initiative. Latrobe Archaeology has major focuses in Australian Indigenous archaeology, African archaeology and paleoanthropology, Paleolithic archaeology, Middle Eastern prehistoric archaeology, Australian historical archaeology, biomolecular archaeology, geoarchaeology and archaeological science. Latrobe Archaeology currently runs excavations, field schools and conducts research in Australia, Jordan, South Africa, Kenya, Bulgaria, France, and Cyprus. This includes the Australian Paleoanthropological Field School at the Drimolen Early Hominin Site in South Africa, run jointly with the University of Johannesburg. Archaeology is also aligned to Latrobe's research focus area in transforming human societies. In 2011 the university, in conjunction with the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences and Associate Professor Andy Harris, built the Australian Archaeomagnetism Laboratory, based within the Department of Archaeology, Environment and Community Planning. The main aim and focus of research in the laboratory is promoting the use of magnetic methods of analysis for understanding the age, paleo-environmental climate context and site formation history of archaeological and fossil sites, as well as archaeometric archaeometry, analysis of archaeological artifacts for understanding behavioral information such as material sourcing and the development of pyrotechnology. The laboratory also undertakes other research with the Department of Physics, including comparative work at the Australian Synchrotron. In conjunction with the Geomagnetism Laboratory at the University of Liverpool, TAAL has a major focus on reconstructing paleozecular variation from Southern Hemisphere archaeological sources over the last 5 ma, with the aim of constructing an Australian archaeomagnetic curve. This currently includes work on the 50-car-long sequence of human occupation at Lake Mungo in Australia where Latrobe Archaeology directs field excavations and survey. In 2011 the laboratory was involved in dating the age of the new South African hominin species Australopithecus sediba, which was published in the journal Science. TAAL's director, Associate Professor Harris is currently an Australian Research Council-funded Future Fellow in the Geochronology of Human Evolution and is a recognised world leader in the magnetic analysis of karst deposits. He's been responsible with colleagues for providing many of the first dates for South African hominin sites. African archaeology and paleoanthropology is a major focus of the TAAL and archaeology at Latrobe. Main focuses of research in the laboratory are 1. The role of heat treatment of stone for the manufacture of stone tools in the archaeological record. 2. The age of Australian marsupial fossil sites. 3. Creating a chronological framework for the Paleolithic and human evolution in Africa and Asia. 4. Reconstructing occupation intensity, spatial patterning, fire use and paleoclimatic records from archaeological sites. Latrobe Archaeology in conjunction with the School of Molecular Sciences also runs a stable isotope facility directed by ARC Future Fellow Drive Colin Smith. The laboratory's main research emphasis is investigating the preservation of biomolecules in archaeological skeletal tissue and how this affects the information they contain. Library collection strengths African collection. The collection of English-language African materials commenced in the mid-1960s during the university's establishment and consists of approximately 25,000 to 30,000 print titles. The majority of the collections is post-1966 material, focusing on sub-Saharan history and politics, works of literature by African writers and scholarly works in the fields of archaeology, anthropology, development, international relations, economics and sociology. The collection has particularly strong holdings on South Africa, Angola, Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Mozambique, Nigeria, Somalia, Sierra Leone, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia and Zimbabwe. European Documentation Centre. The university became a European Documentation Centre in 1975 and has one of the oldest and largest print collections of this material in Australia. India and South Asia Collection. The collection commenced in 1985, when Greg Bailey and Chris Chartley began collecting systematically in Sanskrit literature, Hinduism and Buddhism, as well as ancient Indian history and archaeology. As of 2011, the collection has amassed 37,500 volumes. The collection is strong in the fields of humanities and social sciences, particularly the Indian official and census statistics, and the gazetteers of India, as well as a significant number of resources on 20th-century Hindi literature. It also features strong holdings in early Buddhism and Sanskrit literature pertaining to Hinduism and belles lettres. Latin American Collection. Latrobe is one of the best research libraries in Australia in the field of Latin American studies, with approximately 28,000 to 30,000 print titles in the collection. The focus of the collection is Mexican, Brazilian, Cuban and Caribbean studies, United States-Latin American relations, and Latino peoples living in the United States. Music Collection. The Latrobe Musical Collection consists of 11,000 musical score and sound recordings including 12th century to 15th century sacred music, jazz, opera, orchestra, chamber, strings and keyboard works of all major composers, and instrument and instrumental ensembles. Original collections of traditional folk music such as UNESCO recordings are also held in the collection. Arts and culture. Latrobe began collecting in the early 1960s before construction even started on the main campus at Bundara. The collection now consists of has more than 3,000 post-war contemporary Australian artworks valued at $17 million. This is the second largest university art collection in Victoria in terms of collection value. Art galleries are located on site at two of the university campuses, the University Art Museum at Melbourne campus and the Phyllis Palmer Gallery at Bendigo. The university also operates the Visual Arts Centre in Bendigo. The Melbourne campus has a sculpture park which includes the controversial upside-down statue of Victorian colonial Governor Charles Joseph Latrobe, by sculptor Charles Robb. The Latrobe University Art Collection began in 1966, before construction of the first buildings commenced at the site of the university's major campus at Bundara. Recognizing the importance of an art collection within an educational environment, the university's master architect, Dr. Roy Simpson, AO, incorporated the installation and display of artworks into his overall vision for Latrobe. WWITH Mr. Frank Barnes, the university's first business manager, and the generosity of individual benefactors, Dr. Simpson initiated the commissioning of paintings by Gareth Jones Roberts, Leonard Lloyd-Anwar and Charles William Bush to establish the art collection. Major sculptural works, such as Alan David's monumental glass screen that graces the main entrance to the university library, were also included in the original design. The further installation of sculpture in the grounds and paintings throughout the buildings were proposed in the original master plan, and were made possible with funds raised through the 1976 retirement appeal for the inaugural Vice-Chancellor, Dr. David Myers. Today the Latrobe University Art Collection is considered a major public art collection, comprising over 2,000 post-war and contemporary Australian artworks. The collection covers most media and periods of Australian art. It includes the largest holding of works by the Australian surrealist Bernard Bowles, expatriate artist Alan David and the Etta Hirsch Ceramics collection, which consists of over 300 pieces. In addition to an active acquisition program, artworks have been acquired through an artist-in-residence program and sponsorship of public art prizes, reinforcing the university's commitment to the study, patronage and advancement of the visual arts. Public accessibility to the collections remains a priority, with many of the works displayed across the university's metropolitan and regional campuses, included in touring exhibitions and exhibitions held at the Latrobe University Museum of Art and other venues. The other campuses have easy access to local exhibition spaces. The Sheraton Gallery is located in the Sheraton Town Centre and was home to our 40th anniversary travelling art exhibition. Albury-Wodonga students can access Albury Regional Art Gallery. In Mildura, visual arts students present a final year art exhibition, and there is also the Mildura Wentworth Arts Festival. Student life equals student union equals. For more information see Latrobe Student Union. During the 1960s and 1970s, Latrobe and Monash were considered to have the most politically active student bodies of any university in Australia. The Communist Party of Australia was a prominent organisation on campus, often with the cover of a front organisation sometimes encouraging the name La Trot. The following Latrobe alumni were all good friends at the time and took part in student politics: Bill Kelty from the ACTU and Australian Football League Commissioner, former Treasurer Tony Sheehan, Don Watson, Jeff Walsh, high-profile union officials Brian Boyd, John Cummins and Gary Weaven, former Federal Treasury official and former Westpac CEO, David Morgan. Some other Labour figures and people from the left side of politics include Mary Delahunty, Phil Cleary and Michael Danby. Despite the general socialist leftist atmosphere, several conservative corporate business figures and Liberal Party members have come from Latrobe. Though the student body at Latrobe is no longer as politically active as it once was, the trend is similar at all Australian universities. Nonetheless, Socialist Alternative and National Labour students are still very active, with both the SRC and union president typically coming from NLS. Latrobe student organisations were largely run by NLS over previous years, in coalition with various independent groupings. The Latrobe University Students' Union is responsible for the Eagle Bar contact student services, but its role has been considerably diminished as a consequence of voluntary student unionism. There used to be three main student representative bodies on campus known as the Latrobe University Student Guild, the Students' Representative Council and the Latrobe Postgraduate Students Association. The Latrobe University Student Representative Council became the principal representative body on campus and a student advocacy group, as well as student representatives for welfare, disability, women, queer, indigenous, environment, education and welfare, and the Guild managed student services. In 2011, however, the Students' Representative Council, the Latrobe Postgraduate Students Association, the Students' Guild and the university merged the three separate organisations into one body, the Latrobe Student Union. The current president of the Latrobe University Student Union is Rose Steele. The largest faculty-based student representative organisation on campus is the Law Students Association. Postgraduate students are represented in the new union. The students at the Bendigo campus are represented by the Bendigo Student Association, a much less activist and political organisation than the Student Union. The BSA publishes the Third Degree magazine. 1995 SLC election Postal ballot incident. During the 1995 SLC election, there was a major scandal involving postal ballots sent to Glen College. A group of 4 candidates associated with the Australian Labor Party contested the election as the Tintin for NUS ticket. It was discovered that one of the students, Stephen Donnelly, had gained access to the postal ballots during the delivery process. When challenged to explain their behaviour, all 4 candidates withdrew their nominations. The Deputy Returning Officer writes that the candidates Stephen Donnelly, Robert LaRocca, Nigel Rode and Robin Scott were charged with dishonest conduct and interfering with ballot papers. He escalated the matter to the Dean of Glen College and then the University Secretary but found them disinterested and the matter was never formally prosecuted by the police. Stephen Donnelly has subsequently become the Assistant State Secretary in the Victorian branch of the ALP. Rabelais The union also publishes a student magazine, The Notorious Rabelais, which was the subject of a federal court case in 1995 after the Office of Film and Literature Classification ruled that it promotes, incites and instructs in matters of crime, because of an article on shoplifting. Colleges and halls of residence The following colleges and halls are based at the Melbourne campus: Chisholm College, Glen College, Menzies College, the University Lodge, Graduate House. Athletics Latrobe University is one of 36 universities across Australia that is part of the elite athlete-friendly university network. The network was established by the Australian Sports Commission in 2004 to identify, promote and support the specific needs of university students who participate in sport at an elite level. As a result, an elite athlete-friendly university program was developed and formulated. In 2011, Latrobe University was the reigning champion at the Southern University Games, having won the competition in 2010. The Sports Centre at the Melbourne campus has a fully equipped gym, squash racquetball and tennis courts, volleyball, badminton, indoor soccer, netball and basketball courts, a 25-metre pool with a deep water pit, and dance and yoga studios. The centre also offers group exercise classes, dance classes, pilates and yoga. Tuition in most sports can be arranged and courts can be hired to students at discounted rates. The centre also offers deep tissue and trigger point sports massage. Latrobe University participates in the annual Australian University Games. A-League Association Football Club Melbourne City have their training and administrative facilities based at Latrobe University. Campuses Melbourne The Bundara campus is the foundation campus of Latrobe and was officially opened in 1967 when Latrobe began operations. The campus is the main base of all Latrobe's main courses except education, pharmacy, and dentistry, all of which are based at Bendigo. The main campus buildings were designed by Melbourne architecture firm, Young Freeman in a utilitarian, post-war international style. Main campus buildings are connected by a series of raised walkways. Bundara has around 22,000 students on campus and therefore has many facilities such as restaurants, bars, shops, banks and an art gallery. The main library on the campus, the Burkhardt, has well over 1 million volumes. Latrobe University has 3 on-campus residential colleges, Menzies, Glen and Chisholm. Bundara also has sporting and recreation facilities such as an indoor pool, gyms, playing fields, and indoor stadiums. The facilities are regularly used as a training base for the Essendon Football Club, and houses the administration and training venue of the new A-League franchise Melbourne Heart. The Bundara campus is home to the Latrobe University Medical Centre and Hospital. The Melbourne Wildlife Sanctuary, part of the university, is adjacent to the campus. The university is also home to the Centre for Dialogue, an interdisciplinary research institution which delves into certain intercultural and interreligious conflicts, both in the domestic setting and in international relations. In March 2009, the centre attracted controversy in hosting a lecture given by former Iranian President, Syed Mohammad Khatami. Khatami emphasized the importance of dialogue between civilizations, especially in relation to quelling misunderstandings between the Islamic world and the West. The Centre for Dialogue has also won acclaim for its leadership program for young Muslims, implemented predominantly in Melbourne's northern suburbs. Latrobe University Research and Development Park, the O&D Park opened in 1993, adjacent to the Melbourne campus. Tenants include a branch of the Walter and Eliza Hall Institute of Medical Research, the Victorian State Forensic Centre, a Rio Tinto Group Research Centre, Victorian Environment Protection Authority, the Cooperative Research Centre for Vaccine Technology and CAVAL. In 2005, the Victorian government announced that $20 million would be spent developing the Victorian Bioscience Centre and the park. Latrobe University is the largest university campus in the Southern Hemisphere. Also on the O&D Park is the Technical Enterprise Centre, a business incubator for new ventures in information technology, biotechnology and the life sciences. Student radio, the Latrobe FM broadcasts from a studio on campus on the FM frequency. Latrobe FM broadcasts on relay with Northwest FM 98.9, 96.5 Inner FM, 3SER, Stereo 974, Yarra Valley FM, 3WBC, 979 Fathoms, 3NRG, FM 876 Network, Golden Days Radio, 88.3 Southern FM, and Eastern FM 98.1. Bendigo Latrobe Bendigo was established in 1991, initially as the Latrobe University College of Northern Victoria. It succeeded 118 years of tertiary education in the regional centre, which began with the Bendigo School of Mines in 1873. The main site of the Bendigo campus, the Edwards Road campus, was established in 1967 under the Bendigo Institute of Technology, while the Osborne Street campus was established in 1959 under the Bendigo Teachers College. Together these two sites are known as the Flora Hill Campus Precinct. They were acquired by Latrobe University in 1991 after an amalgamation with the Bendigo College of Advanced Education. The Bendigo campus is situated on 33 hectares of land, consisting of 4 sites: Edwards Road, Osborne Street, the Visual Arts Centre, and the Latrobe Rural Health School. The Edwards Road campus is positioned 3 kilometres away from the centre of Bendigo and is the home of Latrobe's School of Education. The Heward Library is also located there. The Osborne Street campus is predominantly used for examination facilities and is home to the Latrobe University Bendigo Athletics Track. There is also the associated Central Victorian Innovation Park, located on university land, which opened in December 2003. Some of the facilities used in the 2004 Commonwealth Youth Games were located at Latrobe University Bendigo. Between 1994 and 2005, Latrobe Bendigo's curriculum was separate from that based at Bundoora, operated by a multidisciplinary faculty of regional development. All campuses could choose to offer individual courses from both Bundoora and Bendigo. This situation ceased in 2005 after the Bendigo campus formed part of the Melbourne campus structure. Melbourne Latrobe has 2 campuses in Melbourne's Central Business District, on Collins and Franklin Streets. The campuses deliver courses in health sciences and law and management, and houses the Australian Research Centre and Sex, Health and Society in the Judith Lumley Centre. Albury-Wodonga The Albury-Wodonga campus is located 3 kilometres from the centre of Wodonga on a 26-hectare site. It used to be the sole campus of the Wodonga Institute of TAFE. The Latrobe campus was established in 1991. The campus continues to share various resources with the TAFE. The AW campus houses the faculties of Education, Health Sciences, Biology, Business and others. Mildura The Mildura campus was established in 1996, co-located with the main campus of the Sunraysia Institute of TAFE. These institutions and other tertiary education and research institutions on the site share various resources. A second Mildura City campus opened in 2006 in the old Mildura Cultivator offices, next to Gallery 25, an art gallery Latrobe became involved with a few years earlier. Sheraton The Sheraton campus was established in 1994. The new $10 million 2-story campus building at 210 Friar Street was opened in late 2010. Bouverie Centre The Bouverie Centre was established as a clinical mental health service for children and adolescents. In 1956, the centre was renamed the Bouverie Clinic following its relocation from Collins Street, in the CBD of Melbourne to Bouverie Street. Carlton The Bouverie Centre made the transition from a child psychiatric clinic to the first family therapy centre in Australia in the mid-1970s. In 2007 the Bouverie Centre moved into a $5 million, state government-funded, purpose-built building at 8 Gardner Street, Brunswick. Latrobe University took over the management of the Bouverie Centre from the mental health branch of the Victorian Department of Human Services, and added to Bouverie unregistered trademark S name the subtitle Victoria unregistered trademark S Family Institute. In the decades that followed, the range of clinical academic courses offered by Bouverie expanded, and to date, the centre delivers a number of graduate certificate programs, including the Graduate Certificate in Narrative Therapy, a program specifically tailored for professionals working with people impacted by acquired brain injury seeking to enhance their skill and confidence in working with families, and the nationally recognised Graduate Certificate in Family Therapy for Aboriginal and or Torres Strait Islander workers. The Century unregistered trademark S flagship Master unregistered trademark S level program is a regular feature on the academic calendar, and we also boast a vibrant higher degree research program. The Bouverie Centre has over 40 staff, with clinical staff typically working across a number of different service areas including direct clinical services in family therapy, workforce development, helping services build family-sensitive cultures and deliver family-inclusive practice, academic award courses, professional development courses, research, including a PhD program and program evaluation. Beechworth the hotel and conference centre at Beechworth closed on May 23, 2011. This decision followed stakeholder consultation and feedback about the proposed closure from local businesses and the community. The Beechworth site was once home to the Beechworth Lunatic Asylum, founded in 1867 and later renamed Mayday Hills Hospital. The hospital ceased operation in 1995. Planned campuses. In 2007, the university announced plans to open learning nodes co-located with the Wangaratta and Seymour campuses of Goulburn Ovens Institute of TAFE, and at the Swan Hill campus of Sunraysia Institute of TAFE. International affiliates. Latrobe offers a number of courses at several offshore sites. The courses are mainly in the areas of finance, economics, management, biomedicine, health and linguistics. These courses are mainly offered throughout Asia in countries such as China, Japan, Malaysia, Singapore and Vietnam. Courses are also offered at a site in France. Latrobe has affiliations with many other institutions around the world, where Latrobe courses are offered or exchange programs are offered. The majority of these partners are located in Europe and Asia. For example, a program with the Royal Institute of Health Sciences gives Bhutanese qualified nurses the opportunity to obtain a bachelor's degree. Rankings. Latrobe's world rankings have fluctuated over the years, and appears to be strongest in the arts and humanities, as is demonstrated by the Times Higher Education World University Rankings. In 2004, Latrobe was ranked overall 142nd of the world's top 200 universities, and 13th in Australia. Latrobe failed to make the top 100 in the world for any area-specific rankings in 2004, but managed to pull in 33rd place in the top 40 universities in the world outside Europe and North America. Since then, the university lost a lot of positions in every field, and it is now ranked out of the Times Higher Education World University Ranking at 375th. In 2005, Latrobe University's world ranking rose to 98th place, placing it as one of the top 100 universities in the world, and it moved up to 11th place in Australia. It made a leap to 23rd place in the world's top arts and humanities universities, bringing it to rank 3rd best in Australia. It also reached ranking status in the world's top social science universities, coming in 68th in the world and 9th in Australia. It came in as the 86th best biomedical university in the world, and moved up to 29th place in the top 50 universities in the world outside Europe and North America. Research produced by the Melbourne Institute in 2006 ranked Australian universities across 7 main discipline areas: arts and humanities, business and economics, education, engineering, law, medicine, and science. For each discipline, Latrobe University was ranked. Latrobe was one of 4 non-group of 8 universities ranked in the top 100 universities in the world in particular discipline areas. A1 refers to Australian and overseas academics' rankings in tables 3.1 a Euro 3.7 of the report. R2 refers to the articles and research rankings in tables 5.1 a Euro 5.7 of the report. No refers to the total number of institutions in the table against which Latrobe University is compared. People. See also, List of universities in Australia, Centre for Dialogue. Notes. References. External links: William J. Breen, ed. Building Latrobe University, Reflections on the First 25 Years 1964 Euro 1989. Melbourne, Latrobe University Press. ISBN 1-86324-003-9 HDL, 1959.9/201688. Latrobe University a Euro official website, Latrobe Students' Representative Council, Latrobe University Branch, National Tertiary Education Union.